Please welcome KIPP New Jersey founder and CEO, Ryan Hill.
Wait till you see me dance. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here with us tonight. Thank you to all of our participants also on the earlier panel about the challenges of college completion. Richard Barth, Aish Neshalu, Dr. Dan Porterfield, Shavar Jeffries, and Gerald Rhymes, one of our great alumni from our founding class. I'm especially grateful to Gerald because I think sometimes our alumni get up here and view this as an opportunity to get back at me for something from long ago. And he didn't do that, so thank you for not taking your shot. And he's a funny guy. He's been with us since I was 25 years old, so he definitely had material. So I appreciate you, Gerald. And I'm very proud of you. So we have a great program for you tonight in which you'll hear the true story of KIPP New Jersey from the true heroes of KIPP New Jersey, our students, teachers, and families, and in which we thank each of you, and in particular our honorees, the incredible Derek and Deborah Capana, the indispensable Goldman Sachs Urban Investment Group, and some of the most active and engaged parents I've ever met. So I was at an event recently with KIPP co-founder Mike Feinberg, and he was telling the story of public charter schools in America in a way that I thought was interesting. Mike took us back to the time, which is hard to remember now, when there was a general sense of surprise anytime a group of students in a city, in any big city, obtained academic success. Back then it was considered inspiring when they found a single classroom in which all the kids were learning and achieving. So inspiring that they made movies about the heroic teacher when they found one. I mean, look at that. The movie poster actually calls high achievement a modern miracle. A miracle. And then more and more teachers proved the possible to the point where there were whole schools where kids were achieving. And this was considered so unusual that they made movies about those schools. And since then, groups of educators around the country have built literally hundreds of schools, maybe thousands, that help their kids beat the odds and achieve their dreams. And from there, systems of schools like KIPP that each raise the bar by serving thousands of students, in KIPP's case, 80,000 students in 200 schools around the country. And they made a movie about that too. So we know that proving the possible matters. Just as the first runner to break the 4-minute mile barrier paved the way for hundreds of people since then to do it, so did those early teachers show the way for the rest of us who came afterward. Over time, we've gone from a handful of high-achieving classrooms to a handful of schools to a bunch of school systems, all proving the possible for the next group. Now the next mountain to climb, the next movie to be made, is the one about the first city to truly offer academic excellence to every single one of its students. And what I'm here to tell you tonight is why we think Newark and Camden are the two cities who will get there first. So to explain why we think this, it may be helpful to remember the path we've traveled so far. This is the 10th annual Be the Change celebration, so I want to take us back 10 years to see how the predictions we made back then have panned out. Yes, that's me 10 years ago. One thing I didn't predict was all this gray hair. But I did lose a couple pounds, so I think this decade has been a wash on that front. But anyways, this is 2007. We've been open for 5 years. We have 2 schools, 450 kids, and we were about to open a third. Actually, I think we had just opened a third. But our wait list was growing into the thousands, so we knew we had to do more. So we built a plan and made some predictions based on all that Newark had going for it. Kids full of potential, families demanding excellence, strong political leadership, and a big support network with vision and belief in a great city. And here, shown in vintage 2007 slides, was our humble prediction: that Newark would be the first major American city to prove that all kids could achieve, to prove the possible, to sound the challenge to other cities in America. If we can do it, why can't you? On the day of Be the Change 2007, we were far from achieving this ambition. But there was some evidence to make us believe it was possible. Back then we noted, in another vintage slide, that Newark, unlike most cities at the time, had a small but growing number of high-performing charter schools. And we predicted those schools would expand and replicate to keep up with parental demand. And on that count, we were right. There are now 34 charter schools routinely beating the odds in Newark. 34. Of course, with more great schools opening, we also predicted that the average achievement of students in Newark would increase. Turns out we were right about that too. In fact, since charter schools have grown from serving 7 to 33% of the students in Newark, the odds of an African American student in the city being in a high-performing school have increased by 300%. We are now at the point where the average student in a public charter school in Newark is achieving as well as the average student in the state of New Jersey in ELA, English Language Arts, and nipping at their heels in math. And New Jersey is one of our highest performing states in the country. Newark has shown in study after study that we have the only sector in America that's in the top 5 in both the percent of students it serves and in the academic performance of those students. So how have the kids who remain in the district done as charters have exploded in size? Well, thanks to the combination of collaboration between charters and district schools and the determination of Superintendent Cerf and his team and his educators, the students in NPS have seen improved outcomes as well, from test scores to graduation rates. In fact, last year, Newark was ranked #1 in the nation in the percent of students attending what the study called Beat the Odds schools. #1, as we predicted. Of course, these weren't really predictions we were making. We viewed them more like commitments. Commitments we could keep because of great teachers and the support of the people in this room. Back in 2007, we committed to growing from 3 schools to 5, eventually serving 2,400 students in Newark. A few years later, we increased the target as our waitlist grew to over 10,000 students, and we kept that commitment to grow and then some, growing to 8 schools now with over 3,700 students in Newark today. We also told you that our kids would end up going to college, and that came true as well, with over 90% of our students heading off to college, putting our kids up there with North Stars as the top 2 in the city, ahead of even the selective magnet schools. Back in 2007, we also predicted that as Newark proved the possible, other cities would take note and start to learn from what's going on here. That started to happen in 2012 when community leaders from Camden came and asked us to be part of what they called the Renaissance of education in that great city. In collaboration with Superintendent Rahanafard, high-performing schools have flocked to Camden, increasing citywide performance in everything from academic achievement to high school graduation rates. Once again, we are showing that when public charter schools and district schools work together, all kids can benefit. For our part, when one of the lowest performing schools in the state was closed, we agreed to take all those students into our school at one time, and those students saw achievement jump significantly in just 1 year in our schools. As you can see, it's real progress, but we have a long way to go before Camden catches up to Newark on a citywide basis. And in general, though we've made unprecedented progress in both cities, we obviously still have a long, long way to go before any of us should be satisfied. So to keep our eyes on the collective goal of truly equal education for every child in America, I'm going to make some predictions for what's to come in the next decade. Now, I want to be held accountable to these, so in 10 years I expect each one of you to be in these seats, back here, maybe with a little more gray hair yourselves. But you don't have to envision that part right now. Let's just envision our predictions that we think are going to be hard to do, but we can make it happen with the right commitment. First, we predict that parents in Newark and Camden, like parents everywhere, will continue to love their babies. That's an easy prediction, but the most important one, because they will continue to demand better and better options for their kids and get more and more organized in the pursuit of great schools. Second, I predict that the courageous leaders in Newark's political class, people like Senator Ruiz, Assemblywoman Pintor-Marin, Council members Ramos, Cheneyfield, Jenkins, and McCallum, will continue to support great schools even when it's hard to do so. And we know from watching other cities we should not take that support for granted. Third, we predict that the tide will continue to rise, and we will continue to see higher and higher performance in all public charter school and district school sectors. Fourth, KIPP New Jersey will continue to grow to meet the demand for great schools by opening 7 more campuses in Newark and at least 5 in Camden, getting us to over 10,000 students within the decade. Fifth, we do predict that having seen what's possible, more communities will come calling, and we will have decisions to make, like we did when Camden came to us, about our capacity and where to go to help more cities meet the needs of their kids. And finally, our prediction for the next decade is that they will be making movies about Newark and Camden. And those movies will be the story of loving parents, determined students, committed teachers, and the embrace of a community of support that refuse to accept the status quo, instead committing to be the change they wish to see in the world. One day it won't be surprising, much less miraculous, when the best schools in America are found in our cities. It won't even be interesting. It'll be normal, mundane, even predictable. We all have a lot of work to do before we get there, but for tonight, please settle in and enjoy yourself as you hear from our kids and our teachers, starting with some thank yous from the NCA choir. I predict you'll be as impressed with them as we are. Thank you.